So let's start today's session. So the last class we discussed about introduction to network. So in that class, we have seen what is network, the concept of the network, like what is actually a network, how to create, and we even done some kind of requirements. We have seen some advantages like why you create a network, why we connect all the devices of network. Okay. So network basically we use to access the information, maybe to share the data, to access the resources, to access your email. Okay. So there will be a lot of benefits if you connect your device on a network. Okay. So basically, if you want to make a network, so even we have gone through some of the requirements. So one of the requirements we have seen like how many computers we need, and in that computer what we need to install, and we talk about operating system in detail, like what types of operating system Microsoft introduced in the market, what is server, what is client. We also discuss about some history, like from when Microsoft started releasing server operating system, and what is the actual difference between server and client. Okay, and one of the one of the concepts we have been related to your NIC card. Okay, so NIC card, it is like a gate of a machine which is going to entry or exit point of your data. Okay, so one of the requirements we have seen cable. Cable also plays a very important role that is used for connecting all the devices of network, and cable also carry the data. Okay. Even we also talk about the speed, like how much supported the speed based on a different categories. So one of the requirements we have seen yesterday only introduction part, and in today's session, the complete class will be discussing about the protocol. Okay, and even we also discuss about some of the differences between switch and hub. So switch is a device we actually call a unicast, and it is an intelligent device where it is going to maintain some kind of information of about the devices of network, and with the help of that database, the switch is going to perform a different task. Okay. So in today's class, we'll be discussing about IP, which is one of the important topics, and the complete networking, it is actually depends on the IP address. Okay. So if you learn many things, and if you don't have idea about IP address, that means you cannot become a system admin or network admin or any administrator in a company unless until you have IP address concept. So IP address plays a very important role. Okay. So before we understand like what is IP address and how to configure and what are the types of IP and what are the ranges of IP. Now, first of all, here in today's topic, I have written something like types of addresses. Okay. So when you talk about address plays a very important role in order to identify somebody on a market. Let's say if I say we people actually identify with our name. Okay. Now if I want to go somewhere, maybe if I want to go any place, again I also need some kind of address, so that exactly based on a particular address I can go to a particular area, so that I can reach up the actual address. Similarly, like in a network also, we are saying a group of devices connecting. Okay, so I'll be connecting server, I'll be connecting the routers, I'll be connecting the laptop, firewalls, IP phones. So different devices I'll be connecting on a network. So how these devices, they understand each other. With the help of a laptop, how I can able to communicate with a printer. With the help of my server, how I can able to control my network. With the help of a router, how I'll be giving connectivity to different networks. So this is completely depends on the IP configuration. So before we understand like what is IP, first of all, we need to see the first address that is available in your computer. You can say physical address or MAC address. Okay. So physical is also called MAC address, and MAC stands for a media access controller. So one of the main things here we need to understand like what is the actual difference between IP address and MAC address. Okay. So most of the time, like we actually try to understand IT. Okay, let's say you have a computer, and if you know most of the time, like uh, if you connect your computer on a network, so all the time, the main important thing we learn here regarding IP address. Okay, apart from IP, even one of the address is also important. That address we call as physical address. Okay. So without physical, without logical, there is no machine, there is no device that will be connecting on a network. Okay. So here, and one more thing you need to keep in mind, I'm not just talking about the computer. Okay. So I'm not saying like if you connect computer on a network, then only you require a MAC address, you require IP address. No. If you connect any device may be a router, device may be a computer, device may be a firewall device, it may be like a IP phone, it may be a laptop, it may be anything. So if you connect something on a network, now that device, you compulsory you require both these addresses. And even I'm not saying IP address is important and MAC address is not important. Both addresses are compulsory. Okay. Now we need MAC address as well as we also require IP address. Okay. So even I'm not saying now if you give IP, then only the machine is going to participate on a network. If you don't give MAC address, the computer, it not be a part of a network. Okay. So MAC address is also important and IP address is important. Both addresses are mandatory. Okay. But the main thing we need to understand here, what is the actual role of MAC address on a device? Okay. And what is the role of IP address? If both addresses are available, then what is the use of MAC address and what is the use of IP address? Okay. So MAC address, either you can say physical address, or it is also called as hardware address. Okay. So apart from two, one address is by default available on a machine, and one address you have to configure according to your requirement. Okay. This is very simple. Okay. I mean, I'm showing in very simple format here. Okay. So apart from two addresses, one address is by default available. That means this is not a responsibility of administrator to go each and every machine to give that address. And one of the address compulsory you have to assign. Okay. So apart from two, when you say like physical or when you talk about like MAC address is actually called, it is a inbuilt address. So this address will be given manufacturer of company. Okay. And where actually this address is available. Okay. So these addresses, let's say when you talk about computer, now on computer, you'll see there is a motherboard. On the motherboard, you will be having RAM. On the motherboard, you also have a hard disk. On the motherboard, you also have, the processor. You may have many components that is actually on motherboard. Okay. So where actually you will see this MAC address. Okay. So when you say address, even like if you see example, like if you stay in a home, so where actually we put address in our home. Okay. Maybe I have 3 bedrooms. I also have a very big hall. So where when you say like address, so we cannot keep address inside our home. Okay. So that means I'm not going to configure address on my bedroom or maybe a hall. So the address actually available on the main gate. Okay. So the place from where the traffic which enter or exist in your home, in that particular place, we are actually try to mention some kind of address. Okay. Similarly, now the traffic which is going to enter or exist on a computer over the network, now that traffic is actually coming from your LAN card. Okay. So both these addresses we are going to configure on NIC card. So NIC card is only the device, only the component where you can find these two addresses. So apart from two, as I told, like one of the addresses by default available and one address you have to configure. Okay. So when you right now in today's time, like if you purchase any computer, by default every machine is having default NIC card, and that the company who manufactures the NIC card, it may be a leading company, it may be like Realtek, it may be broadband, it may be Netgear. So anybody who manufactures the LAN card, so that company automatically give one MAC address. And MAC address we are not using for communication. Okay. So make this point very clear. So we are not using MAC address for communication. Okay. MAC address we are not using for identification. So what is the use of MAC address? Okay. So in the last session, we have seen some of the differences between switch and hub. Okay. In switch, we have seen one kind of technology. Now, if you connect a devices on a switch, the switch is going to perform a unique. The switch perform all the tasks according to the database, whatever it maintains. Okay. So what kind of database the switch maintains? Now, the switch is going to maintain all the information about the MAC address. Okay. Now, let's say just I'm giving an example here. So one of the ports, I'll be connecting a server. Now, one of the ports on a switch, I'll be connecting a router. Now, one of the ports, I'll be connecting computer. Like this, I'll be connecting maybe a printer here. So different devices, I'll be connecting to different ports. Okay. So whenever if you connect any device on a switch, so the first port server is connected, one of the ports router is connected, one of the ports computer is connected. So how the switch is going to understand all these people, like router is connected, server is connected, computer is connected. How the switch is going to understand all these people that is connected to a different port. Okay, the switch never understand all these people based on their functionality. Means the first port server is connected, but the switch doesn't know what is server. The switch doesn't have any idea like what is router. The switch doesn't know what is computer, what is laptop, what is IP phone, what is a printer. The switch doesn't maintain the information of these devices based on their functionality. Okay, so you have to understand this thing. Okay, the switch understands all the devices only based on MAC address. Okay, so what the switch will do? Now, switch when you connect any device, the switch only maintains the MAC address, and MAC address is by default available. So when you power on switch, the switch is going to collect all MAC addresses, and these MAC addresses will be maintained on a table here. And with the help of this database, the switch is going to actually perform a task. Okay, simply take a request from one port and try to power to different ports. That is the main functionality of the switch. But remember, the MAC address we never use for communication. Okay, the one computer is not communicating to other computer according to MAC address. Okay, even I can explain a simple part, like if you have two laptops in your home and you want to make a network. Okay, so to create a network, you have to connect a cable. So just connecting cable on a machine, so you cannot say a network, even though by default this computer is having MAC address, and this computer is also having a MAC address. Okay, so MAC address doesn't help you to create a network. MAC address does not help you to communicate all the machines whatever you are connecting on a network. Okay, so MAC address, it is actually used by switch for understanding all these people whoever connected to different ports. So MAC address understand by switch for unique tasking. Okay. So apart from that, even now when you go for Cisco, when you when you try to learn about like ISP part, in that time you also have a lot of advantage for the MAC address. Let's say if you want to block something, if you want to block internet, or if you want to do any restriction on a device, now you can able to configure. Even when you go with the CCNA, you have some topic called switching. In that time, you will be having some idea about like how to configure and manage the switches. Okay. So the complete management of the switches will be done with the help of MAC address. So in terms of blocking ports, or in terms of like filtering, in terms of security, so MAC address is also very important. Okay. But up to MCSE part, we don't have a lot of advantage for the MAC address. So basically, most of the time we learn about IP. Okay. Okay, IP is very important, but apart from IP, even MAC address is also important. Okay, so you understand IP, and if you don't know about MAC address, still you may have a lot of confusion, like how the communication is there. Now, similarly, now when you say MAC address is actually called, it is a 48-bit hexadecimal number. Okay, now the thing we need to understand here, what is actually hexadecimal? Hexadecimal, we have something called binary. So when you say binary we always have 0 and 1, two numbers. So the computer understands you can say machine language, and this machine language we represent as a binary language. We also have octet. If you want to understand octet is nothing but like 8 bits. And to write 8 bit, we have to write 0 to 7, 8 bit. That is called octet. Now, when you want to write decimal, we have 0 to 9. That is a 10-digit number. And these 10 digits you can write from 0 to 9. Okay, these are all numbers. But the next, when you talk about hexadecimal, it is not only a form of like number. It is actually a combination of let me write decimal, hexadecimal. So hexadecimal 0 to 9, all the numbers, and we also have alphabet from A to F. Okay, so that means whenever you see any MAC address, whenever you talk about like hexadecimal, you have a combination of numbers as well as alphabet. Numbers, you can have any number from 0 to 9. All the numbers are available here. But alphabet, you'll be having only from A to F. Alphabet doesn't mean like, you can write anything, or the company who manufactures the MAC address. You never see a MAC address where it has except this alphabet. Like A to F, you'll be having here, except like you never see N or O or maybe Z or R. This kind of number you never see on hexadecimal. So hexadecimal is one of the address where you will be having combination of number as well as alphabet. And this IP address it is actually understood by switch for understanding all the people of network. And with the help of MAC address, now the switch is going to perform the unique task. Okay. Now the next thing, how to see MAC address. Okay, as I told you, MAC address is by default available. But how the MAC address you can check. Okay. So to check MAC address, we can use a simple command. We have something called get MAC. Very simple command. So when you use this command get MAC, it will try to show you the MAC address. Okay. So when you press enter, so for me it's showing multiple MAC addresses. Okay. So these are called hexadecimal number. You can see. So MAC address is actually called physical address, and this is the MAC address. So when you see all these MAC addresses, numbers as well as alphabet. Okay. But again, when you purchase computer, by default only one LAN card. But why displaying all multiple addresses? Right? So when you purchase a laptop, when you purchase a desktop, by default there is one LAN card. But for me, why showing all these multiple addresses, like multiple MAC addresses? Okay. So remember, when you purchase a laptop doesn't have only one particular LAN card. Okay. So you have LAN card, that is where you can connect cable, and you also have Wi-Fi, you also have Bluetooth. So by default, you will be having 3 different cards. Okay. So apart from 3, one is we'll say cable card. Physically, you can see that. But wireless or you can say like Bluetooth. These 2 cards are inbuilt. You cannot see that. But laptops support the technology. So whenever you are connecting a device, like if you are connecting a laptop, so either you can connect maybe by cable, or you can also connect with the help of Wi-Fi. So 3, but again, why showing more 3? Why? Because this machine I'm running one application. That application I'm using as VMware workstation. So maybe in future I'll try to show you like what is VMware and how to use and how to do our MCSE practice here. Okay. So maybe when you write this command in your laptop, by default it will show you 3 MAC addresses. One is for your Bluetooth, one is for your Wi-Fi adapter, one is for your LAN card adapter. Okay. But when you install that application again, for you also it will show you more than 3 MAC addresses. Okay. So anyhow, so MAC address is a 48-bit hexadecimal, and hexadecimal, it is always a combination of number and alphabet. Okay. Now the next very, very important thing we need to understand, that is IP. Okay. So either you can say logical address, or you can also represent as IP, and IP stands for Internet Protocol. Okay. So first we try to understand definition, then we try to understand like what is the actual use of IP. Okay. So we'll see the feature maybe after some time. First, how you define IP address. Okay. So, so IP plays a very important role. So IP address, first of all, it is in the form of 32-bit logical binary, or you can say 32-bit dotted decimal. Okay. So example for IP address, let's say if I give IP address 192.100.1.1. Okay. So is it a binary number or is it a decimal number? How you differentiate? Okay. So whenever if you write IP address it is in the form of logical binary, but actually it is called as dotted decimal. Okay. So in the definition I'm writing here, it is in the form of logical binary. So whenever you write IP address, computer understand only binary language. Okay. So for we to understand IP address concept, we actually use decimal format. Okay. Now example, like if I convert 192 into binary, okay, this is 8-bit. So if I convert this 8 bits into binary, you have a number like dot. Then if I convert 158, you will be having some number. Then dot. Again if I convert, then dot. Like this you have. This is your binary number understand by a machine, understand by our computer. But we people never understand 0101 language. Okay. So we to understand and configure IP address. Now we actually use this format for easy understanding. So IP address it is in the form of logical binary, or you can say dotted decimal, and divided into 4 octets. Octet means every portion, like we have 4 portions. So every portion is 8 bits. This is 8 bits, this is 8 bits, and this is 8 bits. Each of 8 bits, and each octet is substituted by dot. So whenever you configure IP address on a machine, so IP address you have to give complete 4 portions. Okay, you cannot give anything whatever you like. I mean, if you want only one portion, only if I give only 1 number, 2 number, 3 number, 4 number, now it will not be accepted. So you have to give IP according to condition. It is not based on you, right? So you cannot give anything what you like. So you have to go according to the condition. The computer, the computer actually accepts that. Okay. So IP address we have 32 bits divided into 4 portions, and every portion is of 8 bits, and each and every octet is separated by a dot. Okay. Now the next very important thing is, what is the actual role of IP? MAC address is by default available. So this is not my responsibility to go each and every machine to configure MAC address. But when you talk about IP address, if I'm connecting, let's say I have a switch, on the switch I connect all the group of machines. So all these computers are connected. Okay. So just connecting only the cable to machine. Now these machines doesn't communicate. This machine they're never able to communicate each other. Okay. So how they communicate? So one of the responsibility of administrator, I have to go each and every device and I need to configure IP address. So personally I'll go by any method. So maybe in coming future we have some kind of method. So I have to go each and every device and I have to configure IP address. Okay. So the first advantage of IP is IP we use for communication. Okay. So when you configure IP address, now the machine is going to communicate. The machine can able to talk to other devices. Like the way you communicate in our own language, the machine also understands these people their own language. Okay. So there is a switch here, or I can show you one example. Okay, better I can draw it. So on the switch, I'll be connecting some computer. So right now we have computers, but network doesn't mean only computer. Network, you may have any device. You can have a router here. You can also have server. You can also have printer. You can also have multiple devices. Okay. But to understand only the basic part, I'll just give you an example for the computer here. Now, once you connect all the machines, so what I can do now the computer name is like PC1. So I'll go and I'll give IP address 10.1.1.1. Okay. That means IP we have to give complete 4 portion. Okay. I'll go another machine. I can also give IP. Okay. So let's say the name of this computer is PC2, and I'll go and I'll give one IP. Okay. So like this, I can go each and every machine. I'll give IP. Okay. The next very important part is IP address not only used for communication. IP address is actually used for identification. With the help of this number, now this machine is going to participate, and this machine is going to identify on a network. Okay, identify means like the way we use our name. So name is our identification. If somebody wants to communicate you, they actually use your name. Okay, if somebody wants to call, if somebody wants to contact, if somebody wants to do something with you, then they actually use your name, but because name is our identity. Okay. Similarly, now whatever devices you are connecting on a network, if somebody wants to communicate, if somebody wants to access the data, somebody wants to connect, somebody wants to do something. So once you have IP address, now that is your identity. Okay. So either you access the data of other machine, or other people can access the data of your machine. Okay. So once you participate on a network, now you are responsible for communicating to different devices. Okay. Now either you can communicate to Gmail, you can communicate to Amazon, you can able to transfer the money, you can do many things unless until you have IP. Okay. So identification is very important. So not only communication, IP is also used for identification. It's like an ID of a machine. The next very important point is IP address should be unique. What do you mean by unique? Yes. Now, when you say like unique, whenever you have computers, and one more thing regarding MAC address, I didn't say anything. Okay, I'm not saying like, okay. So MAC address, first of all, we are not assigning from our side. Even no need to have confusion whether MAC address is unique or not. So the address which you are not assigning from your side, even no need to have confusion whether it's unique or not. So MAC address is by default given by company, and that is globally unique. Now, if I'm connecting 4 machines, by default 4 computer, 4 computers having LAN card, and every LAN card there is a unique MAC address. It is globally unique. But IP is not by default. IP we are assigning. Now I'm the admin, and each and every computer I'll be giving IP address. Okay. So one of the computer, like we have PC1. I also have a PC, PC5. I also have a computer like PC10. So like this, I can have multiple devices. Okay. Now, if I start giving only one IP to different devices, okay, so automatically this method we call conflict. Neither this machine will communicate, neither this one. Okay. So make sure when you give IP address, at least try to give different IP. Means the IP address should be unique. If you already given one, so try to give IP2. We can give IP here like 5. Now you can also give IP address like 10.1.10. So you can give any IP, but make sure it should be unique compared to others. Means whatever you have given here, the same IP does, you don't give. Okay. First of all, if you give multiple IP, if you give same IP to multiple devices, even the device also say like this IP already exists. But still, if you force to keep that IP on a device, the computer automatically give error conflict. Conflict means now the machine, they are not going to participate on a network. Even though it looks like connected by cable, but they are not going to communicate. Now the next point, IP address, again, it is divided into 2 portions. One of the portion IP, we have network portion as well as host portion. Okay, and this is very important to understand all the time. Whenever you give IP, and most of the time, like administrator, where actually they do mistake on network and host portion. Okay, so let us understand what is a network and host portion in IP. Okay, first of all, IP we have 4 portions. Whenever you give IP, always IP you may have 4 portions. Okay. So apart from 4 portions, like how many portion you have to give same to all the devices, and how many portion you'll in all the machine, one of the portion that is unique to each and every device. Okay. Now to understand, I can give a simple example. We can see our home address. Now let's say I have an apartment, and that apartment maybe I have in Banjara Hills, so one of the area in Hyderabad. So if I have apartment, so from the government, I have one address. My address is like A-12-123. So this is my apartment number. This is the actual apartment address. Okay. So whenever you see address, so not only I'm the only person in that particular area. Now I also have some my neighbor. So if I see my neighbor address, so it will look like this: 8-12-124. One more neighbor I have. When I go and when I see my neighbor address, I have a number like this, maybe 125. I also have another neighbor. I also have like 8-12-126. Okay. Somebody is having like 127. Somebody is having 128. Like this, somebody is having 130. Like this, all the people, they will be having a different addresses. Somebody is having like 140, 150, 1. Okay. Okay. So whenever if you go in and when you see all the apartments, so there are some number which is actually common to all the people. Okay. So what this number actually represents? What is this number? Means what things come to you? So this number, it actually represents the locality of area. Means in which area your apartment exists. First you have area. Okay. When I say like Banjara Hills, Banjara is not a small area, and Banjara Hills not only in Hyderabad. Okay. So that means in Hyderabad we have multiple areas, and one of the area is Banjara Hills. Okay. So where in Banjara Hills? So Banjara Hills doesn't mean like you have a small area. Even Banjara Hills we also have 1 to 14 roads. Okay. So one of the road we have 12. In that road, I'm not, in that particular road, I don't have only my apartment. I'm not the only alone person available in that road. Now I'll be, in that particular lane, you may have, thousands of apartments. So apart from thousands of apartments, the number which is given 123 is mine. Okay. And my neighbor number will be like 124. My neighbor will be like 125. So each and every person in that area also having different numbers. Okay. Now the thing which we need to understand here, whenever if I try to send a letter, so let's say if I try to send a letter, I say 2 and I return only 8-12. So is it enough? So will that letter reach to destination? Will that letter go to that particular apartment? Okay. So you say no, this is not the actual address. So the actual address of my apartment is 123. So instead of 8-2, even if I put 123, even this is not valid address. Okay. So when you say address, compulsory we need to give these 2 numbers. Both portions should be given. So apart from both, one of the portion that is common to all the people in that area, that is common to all the apartments, and one of the portion which is actually available for you. This number is only unique for you. Okay. Similarly, now based on this example, now we can understand our network scenario. Okay. Now let's say I have a company. In that company, I'll be having some kind of group of devices. Maybe I have 100, 200, 300 machines. Okay. So let's say in a company, I'll be having total 250 computers. Okay. So one of the computer, I'll be giving IP. I have a device. On the top of device, suppose I have given IP address 192.168.1.1. Similarly, this is like PC1. I also have PC5. So the IP given to that machine is 192.168.1.5. There is another machine like PC10. So that machine I can give IP 192.168. 1.10. Okay, like this, each and every device you may have multiple addresses. So let's say you have PC12. Now the IP given that machine is 192.168, maybe like 1.12. Okay, like this, suppose I'm saying here I have 250 machines. So complete 250 machine, there will be a different IP. And when you see all IP addresses, there are some number in IP where you can see common to all the people. Okay. So from 1 to complete. So here I can say these numbers are common, like 192, 158, 1. These three numbers are common as per this example. And I want to make it clear, like all the time, whenever you give IP, no need to give three portion common all the time. I'm not saying this one. Okay. So the portion which is common right now, this will represent the locality of area. That will represent as a network. Okay. So whenever you want to see the network portion, network means you have to see complete, not one, two devices. You have to see the complete devices of your network. Okay. So in entire 250 machine, the complete IPs, they will be having the common number. That number we represent as a network portion. And in that 250, what is the IP of a router? The router IP may be like 10. What is the IP of printer? The printer IP is 12. What is the IP of a server? The IP of a server is 5. Like this, the devices, whatever you are connecting on a network, every device on a network, they also have a unique number. So that unique number of a device, we can represent as a host. Okay. So IP address divided into two portions. One of the portion in IP is like network, and one of the portion is host. And unless until you have both portions, there is no IP address. Okay. Now example. Now if you have a computer and if I give IP address like this, 10.12, 120, maybe like 10.10. Only one. If I give only three portions, this is not IP. IP means again you have to define one more portion. Now that will represent some kind of IP address. In that IP, you have one portion as network. In that IP, you also have one portion as host. Okay. So this is when we need to understand. Okay. The next thing is, first of all, I'm saying address, and all the time you need to remember address. You will be having numbers. Address means we have four portions. But I'll be having a confusion here. So if I want to give IP to a machine, let's say I have a computer and I'm making a network. And as I'm saying here, like IP means you have to give four portions. So for the first portion, what number should I give? Is it compulsory for me to start with 10 number, or shall I give 192 as a first number? If I'm giving 192 as a first number, so I have to give second portion as 158. Then what about the third portion? What about the fourth portion? That means when you give IP address, so IP we have four portions. So first portion, what number you need to configure? On the second portion, what number we need to give? Third portion, fourth portion, like this. What number we actually give so that now your machine can able to participate on a network. Okay, like this we have confusion, right? Okay. Now first thing you remember, the complete IP address is depends on numbers. Okay, so that's why you can see we also have even the ranges. Okay, so we talk about the ranges now. So before we understand the ranges, first of all, let me show you one point. So IP address introduced by one organization. The name of the organization we call it as INA, Internet Assigned Numbers Authority, AINA. Sorry, IANA. Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. So this was one of the organizations who introduced IP address, and what were configuration which I'm showing here, like what were the ranges which I'm showing. So this is, it is actually given by INA. Okay, so don't think like all the thing I'm showing from my side. So I'm not very intelligent to introduce all these things. I'm not a scientist. Okay, and this is even not done by one Indian person. Okay, so somewhere in US, this organization exists, and those people they actually introduce this concept. Okay. So previously, like one of the things you need to remember when when we have network concept. So for the first time when they release, so in future they never realize internet will become a popular in a market. Okay, they never they never feel like in a market internet will become internet will become the popular in the market. Okay, so what they have done, they wasted a lot of IPs in the first time, then after that they also released one kind of another version. Okay, so first of all, like in today's time, if you learn anything, maybe you learn about MCSE, we have version. If you learn CCNA, we have old and new CCNA. If you learn about Juniper, old, and so everything is based on like new and old, new and old. Similarly, in IP address also we have some old as well as new. There will be two types of version here. One of the version in IP address we have IPv4, which is in the form of 32-bit dotted decimal. So 32-bit dotted decimal format, decimal number. Whereas even I now also released one more version. We call it as IPv6. And IPv6, it is in the form of 128-bit hexadecimal. That means the new version not only have number, that new IP address also coming with alphabet. Like as I told you, so if I say decimal, decimal means you have only numbers, nothing. But the new version which is actually released, IPv6, it is actually in the form of 128-bit hexadecimal. Hexa means now you all not only you have numbers, now you also have some alphabet. Okay. So up to MCSE, we have only introduction for IP address. Okay. But when you go with the Cisco, when you go with the security part, when you try to learn about the firewall, and most of the time, like when you learn about the internet security, in that time you have the requirement for IPv6. Okay, but anyhow, some of the differences I can tell you here. So when INA came to the market, as I told you, so they never realized in future internet become a popular. But after some time, after releasing IPv4, though now they start getting lack of IP addresses. Now, if somebody want to connect on internet, so they must have an IP so that they can able to communicate to anywhere in world. Okay, but in INA they doesn't have IP address to provide. Why? Because internet, it is not a name of only India. Internet, it doesn't mean like it is only for Dubai or from America, for Saudi Arabia. So internet, it is nothing but it's all around the world. So when you connect your device on internet, you can communicate to anyone. Okay, it's a global. So what they have done, they wasted some of the IP. So I'll tell you like what IP they actually wasted. Okay, so when INA came to the market and when they released IPv4, in IPv4 they have given total 5 classes, or you can say we have total 5 ranges of IP address. Okay, apart from 5. Okay, so when you try to configure IP address for a communication, only these 3 classes you can configure. Means if I create a network, okay, maybe I'm making a network for my home, maybe I'll be making a network for my company, I'll be making a network for my, okay, so maybe I'll be creating a network for my corporate network. So it may be any kind of network. So when you try to configure IPs, maybe IP I'll be giving to 2 devices, IP I'll be giving to hundreds of devices, IP I'll be giving for thousands of devices. So it doesn't matter to whom you give IP, but this IP will be given only from these 3 ranges. Okay, maybe from class A, maybe from class B, or maybe from class E. So these 3 classes are designed to use for your network. Okay. Now, what about class D and class E? So class D and class E actually designed for multicasting and research and development. Means whenever you try to configure IP address for your network, let's say you have a machine and you want to configure IP. So the IP address which you are giving on your device, so either you can give class A, class B, or class C. Class D, when you are assigning, the computer clearly say, now this IP is not designed for your machine. Okay, we can assign IP from 0 to 223. Okay, so what is 0 and 223? I'll tell you. So if when you try to give IP address from like 240 to 254, even that IP address cannot be accepted by your computer. Okay, so IP address either you can use class A, class B, or class C. These three ranges you can assign, and you have to understand only these three ranges. Okay, so the range of class A starting from 1 to 126, or even you can have 0 to 127. So either you can say 1 to 126, or even I can write 0 to 127. Why? Because one of the number which is missing here, that is 127. I'll tell you what is this number. So the first range given by INA 1 to 127. And remember, when you use first IP address, the first IP when you use the class A, in class A, the first portion should be network, and remaining 24 bits are host. Okay, so total you have 32 bits. In class A, 8 bits INA has given to reserve as a network, and 3 portion means 3 octaves we can use as a host. And if I use class A IP for my company, one network you can have more than 16 millions of IP addresses. Okay, remember this. So it's such a big network. One network you can have more than 16 millions of IP addresses. How? Now let's see. So for me, it's not possible to show you all the 16 million, but for an example, I can give here. Now I'll be giving here. Let's say the first IP I'll be giving 10.0.0. Okay. And one more thing, how to know is it class A IP, class B, or class C? How to differentiate between the classes? Why? Because either you can use class A, you have class B, or you can have class C. So how you can say is it class A or class B or class C? So whenever you want to understand IP address, so maybe I'll give IP like 100.192.168.172. So whenever if you want to know like whether it's a class A, class B, or class C, so the first number of IP, and IP we start from left to right side, like the way you write English language. Okay, so we need to calculate IP from that particular side. Okay, so you cannot calculate IP from right side. Okay, this is the wrong process. Okay, so the first number of IP is 100. Okay, so this number you need to calculate what are the ranges you have, and one of the responsibility of system admin to remember all these addresses all the time. You have to by heart or memorize whatever you want, you do it, but remember these numbers. Okay, you have to remember the range. Okay, class A range, class B range, class C, you have to remember. Okay, so if the number is starting from 1 to 126, now you can see that is class A. If the first number is 128 to 191, class B. If the first number is 192 to 223, that is class C. Okay, so based on class, now you may have network and host portion different. Okay, so we'll try to understand a little bit more in detail. So doesn't matter whatever number you have, that will be calculated. So only you may have this kind of number. So the first number of IP maximum you can see from 1 to 223, not more than that. You never see any IP address more than this. Okay. Now coming to our example, suppose I have a class A 10.0.0.1. So this is my first IP address. Okay. So I have a machine. The machine I have given IP address for the first time 10.0.0.1. Similarly, I have another machine. I'll be giving IP address 10.0.0.2. I have another machine. I'll be giving IP address 10.0.0.3. Then I'll give IP address 4. Then I'll give IP 5. Then 6. Then 7. Then 8. Like this, I start giving IP address. So how much? So shall I make it as 16 millions here? So how much it goes maximum? So maximum value you'll be getting 255. Okay. So the main thing, yeah. So why this number we are getting 255? Why not 500? Why not 1000? Why not 2000? So that I can easily count 60 million. Why I'm getting this number? Now why not like round figure number? Unnecessary I'll be getting one middle number like 255. So how this number is getting? Anybody know this? Okay. Hmm. Yeah. See. Okay. The reason like why I'm showing all these things, maybe some of the people they don't have idea. So in detail we need to discuss like how the number is getting 255, one or 300, one or 400, one or 500. So why we are getting unnecessary like 250, 255. Okay. Now first of all, IP address as I told you, IP we have 4 portions. Okay. Every portion how many bits? 8 bits. Okay. Now if I want to calculate this 8 bits, this is 8 bits. So that 8 bits I'm calculating here. So calculating by 0. How many like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 bits. Now this 8 bits I'll be calculating by 2. So here I want to show you like how we got 255 number, 1 or 300, 400 like this. Okay. So octet means we have total 8 bits. 0 to 7, 8 bits. Okay. So one of the value we have 0 to 2 power 7. Okay. So 2 power 6, 2 power 5, 2 power 4, 2 power 3, 2 power 2, 2 power 1, or 2 power 0. Okay. So what is the value of 2 power 0? Again, like say mathematics. Okay. If you feel like once you done school, colleges, mathematics is done. No. In your entire life, somewhere mathematics always come. Okay. You have to remember certain formula for mathematics. Okay. So a to the power 0, the value will be 1. Okay. That is a formula. Okay. Now 2 power 7, the value of 2 power 7 is 128. Now if you calculate 2 power 6, that is 64. 2 power 5, the value will be 32. Now I'm going to write even plus. So 2 power 4, the value is 16. Then 2 power 3, 8. Plus 2 power 2, 4. 2 power 1, 2. Then 2 power 0 is 1. Okay. Now when you calculate all these numbers, maximum you will be getting a number here 255. That means this number I'm now writing from my side. Okay. So when you calculate complete 8 bits, okay. So once you complete, when you calculate all the number of 8 bits, maximum you'll be getting a number here 255. That's why you cannot give any number what you like. Means you cannot give 300, 400. Even if you want, you cannot assign. Okay. Example. Now I can show you. Okay? So practically, maybe in coming session in detail, I'll show you. So I'm going very quick now. So this is my IP address. I'll say I want to give IP. So the first portion, if I give 10, by default, you can understand this is my class A IP. If I give 100, that is also class A. Instead of that, if I put IP here 150, now this is class B IP. Now instead of that 150, if I want 191, that is also class B. Instead of that, if I put 192 number, this is class C. Okay. So the first number maximum it accept up to 223. So when I try to put 233, the computer is giving error. Now Okay, so maximum 223 it accepts. Now if I put even 224, now the computer give you the error. The machine saying like 224 is not a valid entry. Maximum you can specify a number from 1 to 223. Okay. Apart from 1 to 223, if the number is from like 1 to 126, that is class AIP. If the number is starting from 120 120 A to 191, class B, 192, 223, that is the range of class C. Okay, that is the first portion. Okay. Now the remaining portion, how much you can have? The remaining portion you can give maximum 255. Okay, so let's say 10 dot 0 dot 0 dot. Now I can give 1, I can give 10, I can give 100, I can give 200, I can even have 250, even I can have 255. But if I put 256 here, now again you have the same error. So 256 is not a valid entry. We can give a number maximum 0 to 255. Okay, so this thing you need to understand. Okay, so whenever you are doing calculation, so in it may be like class A, it may be class B, or it may be class C. So always remember the IP starting from 1, then the next IP you can give like 10.1.0.0.2, then you can have 3, you can have 4, then 5, then 6. Maximum it goes to 255. Okay, so that means the number here 10.0.0.255. Then after that, if you want to assign next IP, why? Because let's say maybe I have to maybe I'll be having 500 machines. Okay, so the number is starting from 01, 02, 03 up to 0.255. Then if I want to assign the next IP to the devices, so here I have to give IP like this 10.0 dot, now 1 dot, again 1, or you can give 1.0. Okay, then I'll give 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. I can keep like this. 1.2, then 1.3, then so previously the IP was giving like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 up to 0.255. Now after that, then one series will be started. Okay, so again it will go to maximum 1.255. Then the next value will be 2. The next value will be 3. The next value will be like 4. The next value will be like 5. Then 6. Then 7. Then 8. How much it got maximum? Again, the next value again it goes like 10.0.255.255 again. So this value goes changing like 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 100, 200. Maximum value goes to 255, 255. Then after that, when you want to assign the next IP, then you have an IP like this 10.1.0.0. Then again you have to give IP like 1, 2, 3. So when it goes to 255, then 0 become 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So one more time it goes to like 255, 255, then 1 becomes 2, then 3, then 4. Like this, all IP can be configured. Okay. So for me, it's not possible to show you all the 16 millions of IP. You cannot write. So sometime right now we have holidays for the lockdown. Okay. So if you're free, if you don't have any work, try to do this calculation. Okay. So 10 dot maximum the value we have 10.255.255. Okay. So IP is starting from 10.0.0.0 maximum it goes to 255, 255, 255. So what is common here? So here, if I use class A, make sure you have to remember now the first portion in class A should be common. This number we represent as a network. Okay, so the network and the first address we call it as network ID 10.0.0.0. This is the network ID of your network, means this address which actually understand by your router. And last IP we have 10.255, 255, 255. This is the broadcast ID. So except these two IP, you can give any IP on your network. Whatever the devices you are connecting, every device you can have a unique IP address. Okay. So from here to here, you may have more than 16 millions of IP, not 16, more than 16 you can get. This is the class A IP. Okay. The next we have class B. The range of class B starting from like 128 to 191. And remember, if you use class B has two network portion and two host portion. Okay. So when you want to configure class B, so class B means 16 bits are reserved for the network, 16 bits are reserved for host. Okay. How many IP you can connect? In class B, every network you can have more than 65,000 of devices, 65,535. Means I'm talking here, every network you may have more than 65,000 of devices. How? Now, here only I'll give an example. Let's say I have the first machine, and that machine I have given IP address 172.16.0.0. This is my network. In that network, first IP I'll be giving 172.16.0.1. This is the first IP. Then second IP 16.0.2. Then the next IP will be like 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. Up to how much it goes? Maximum it will go to 172.16.255. 0. Maximum it goes to like 255. Now, when you want to give the next IP will be like 172.16. Now, this 0 become again 1.1. Then again it will go to like 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. One more time, what it will do? Again, now it will go to 2. Then after that, it will go 3. Then after that, it will go 4. Then after that, 5. Like this, now hierarchy goes on. Okay. So the last IP of this network is 172.16.255.255. Okay. That means from starting 0 to 255, here how many IP you have? Total you will be getting 65,535. Okay. So here the common portion in IP is 172.16. This is common, but because this portion we actually represent as a network. So 172.16 is the network portion. Okay, understand this? The next IP in class C, the range starting from like 192 to 223. In class C, 3 network portion and 1 host portion. And in class C, you can have only 254 IPs. Okay. Now let's see how we can have only 254. I'm talking about one network you have 254 IPs. Now example 192.168. 1 dot, let's say 0. This is the network. The first IP in this network is 192.168, 1.1. This is the first IP. Then I'll be giving the next IP 192.168, 1.2. Then 1.3, 1.3, then 1.4, then 5, then 6, up to how much? Maximum it goes to 254. Then after that 1.255. One 192.168, 1 dot 192.168, 1.255. Now after that, if I want to give the next IP will be like this: 192. So 192.168.2.0. Okay. Now when you see this, so remember when you use class C means we have to remember 3 portion network. Okay. So right here, like 192.168.1, this is my network value. Okay. So 0 to 255. Okay. 0 and 255 we call it as invalid. 0 is the network ID, 255 is the broadcast ID, and the number which is remaining here that we can use for our network is 1 to 254 IP. Okay. After that, if I give IP like 192.168.2.0, now this, even though this is from class C, but the network is changing. Okay. Now, if I give an example like Hyderabad is a big area, Mehdipatnam is also in Hyderabad, Banjara is also in Hyderabad, Masatang is also Hyderabad. Like we have multiple areas. In class C, we have many networks. 192.168.1 is one network. 192.168.2 is again network. 192.168.3 is also a network. 4 is also a network. Like this, you may have multiple networks. Okay. So every network in class C, you can have only 254 IP. Okay. So the next question comes like, which class is good? Shall I use class A, class B, or class C? Okay. So we have seen all the ranges here. So remember, like when you talk about classes, so I cannot say class A is good, class B is good, or class C is good. All the classes are good. Sometimes we use class A, sometimes we use class B, sometimes we use class C. So this is based on the condition of network requirement. Okay, how many networks you need, how many hosts you need, based on company, you have to use any of these. Okay, and one of the number which is missing here, we have seen all the number, but what about 127? So 127, it is actually called, it is a loopback address. What about loopback? So loopback is one of the address which is actually used to verify the LAN card of your machine is working or not. Okay, so let's say you have a computer and your machine is connecting on a network. So the cable I'm connecting to my LAN card. So I want to know whether this card is working or not, properly working, or if you have any problem in a LAN card. So when INA came to the market, when INA introduced IP version V4, so what they have done, they wasted actually 127 range for the loopback. Means the complete 16 millions of IP they wasted for the loopback. Why? Because today, now that's why like today we have lack of IP, and INA also released the next version, IPv6. So when you work in a company, we never have issue on LAN card. Means you cannot say like your LAN card is failed unless until your motherboard burn or something happened to your motherboard. We never have issue. So maximum we never get issue for loopback. Okay. So loopback is one of the address which is actually used to verify whether your LAN card or computer is working or not. Okay. Now, the next very important question here. Let's say I'm the administrator of a company, or maybe I'm starting a company. Okay. So I want to use class A, or maybe I want to use class B, or if I want to use class C, something I want to configure in my network. Okay. So as I told you, like IP address, we have 4 portions. We have 4 portions in IP. So whenever if I use class A, so is it compulsory for me to use class A means 10 number? Class B means like 123, 172 number, or class C means like 192 number. So what number should I use? Okay. So all the time like we have confusion. Whenever you see any class, sometimes you see like 10 number, 172 number, 192 number. These numbers are very common. Okay. So why do we use this kind of number? Why not 100? Why not 200? Why not like 150? Why not different numbers? Okay. So the next thing we need to understand the types of IP address. Types of IP address. In IP again we have 2 categories. One of the IP we call it as, one is public IP as well as private IP. Apart from 2 categories, we don't have any other categories. Okay. That means let's say you have a machine and this computer you want to participate on network. So what kind of network you want to communicate? So in which network you want to connect your machine? Okay. So network, this machine either maybe have one kind of address we call public IP or private IP. Okay. So what is public IP? Public is one of the address which is actually given by ISP. So, ISP means Internet Service Provider. Okay. So one of the address given by ISP so that your machine can able to communicate anywhere in world. Okay. If you are having public IP, let's say I have a machine and I have taken internet connection. Means, and one more thing you remember, internet is not a default feature of computer. If you purchase computer from the market, by default there is no internet unless until you take a separate connection. Okay. So when you contact to ISP, they come to you and they try to give a connection. So once you connect your machine on internet, that means your computer can able to communicate anywhere in world. You can access the Gmail, you can access Google, you can able to access the Flipkart, you can access the Amazon, you can go to Azure, you can able to connect anywhere. There is no restriction here. That's why we call it as it's a public IP. You can communicate to any kind of people in a network. Okay. So this machine doesn't have any restriction. Okay. So you can download, you can send whatever you want, you can do it. Okay. So this IP we call it as public IP. And remember, public IP, it is not a free IP. When you take internet connection, according to the requirement, according to the packages, you have to pay amount to the ISP people. That is not a free address. Okay. So one of the address which we use free in our network for communication, that IP we call it as private. Private means our own IP. The IP which is given by ourselves. Public IP given by ISP. Okay. So if you want internet, then the connectivity connection IP will be given by ISP. With the help of that IP, you can able to communicate to anywhere in world. Like the way I'm taking class right now. So this is with the help of my public IP. Similarly, when you say like private is one of the IP which is actually given by your system administrator for giving a connectivity and communication within your network. Okay. Now, if you have some group of machines and if you want to make a network, so you can give one address here. So for me, it's not possible like to give internet to all the people. Like, so freely what I can do, when you give private IP, freely all the machine they communicate. No need to pay any amount here. Okay. So this IP we represent as a private IP. Okay. Now the next thing which I want to explain, which is very, very important here. Okay. So in a company, when I'm giving IP address, so IP as I told you, class A, the range starting from like 1 to 127. Oh, sorry, 0 to 127 you can write, or 1 to 126. The range of class B is starting from 128 to 191. The range of class C is starting from 192 to 223. This is actual range. Okay. So if I'm starting a company and if I want to configure IP in my network, so can I give anything what I like? Suppose let's say I want to use class A, I want to use class B, I want to use class C. So sorry, this is 192. So can I give anything what I like? No. Okay. So what Anna has done, Anna has given some ranges that we use in our network freely. Not all. There are some specific numbers. Okay. So if I want to use IP in my company network free, then you have to remember this. Okay. So class A, Anna has given one free range. The range starting from 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Except this, all IPs are public in class A. Similarly, in class B, I have given range starting from 172.16.0.0 to, so I'm expecting some question after this. 172.31.255.255. Similarly, class C, and I have given range for free IPs starting from 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. Okay, that means whenever you make your local network, whenever you make your private network, compulsory you have to give IP license. Okay, so I'm expecting some question here. Any doubt? So when you see class A, I have complete given range 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. That means complete 10 range used for private, means that is a free range. Okay, so that means if I'm giving class A range, so class A doesn't mean like I cannot use 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 100. No, I cannot use that. Why? Because INA has given a free range of class A. I have to use for my network is 10 range. So from 10 you can use any. Okay. Similarly, if I use class B, the range of class B is starting from 172.16 to 172.31 as a free. Means, so here we have confusion like why I have written 31. So this is not written by myself. This is the actual condition. Okay. So how to understand this? So here, if I'm starting a company, if I want to use class B IP address, the range of class B, maybe I use 172.16. Okay, 0.0.2 255. That means complete 65,000 of IP I can use as a class C or class B IP. Okay, instead of 172.16, even I can also use free 172.17. 17 is also free. Similarly, 172.18 is also free, 19 is also free, up to how much? Up to 31, the IP addresses are free. That means whenever I start a company, and in a company, when I use class B IP, for me, it's not a condition to use like 172.16 only. If I want, I can use 172.18, I can use 172.30, I can use 172.25, I can use any of these range. Why? Because INA has given from here to here complete free range. Okay, this is the point you need to understand here. Similarly, if I use class C complete 190 to 168 range is free. Okay, so if I want, I can use 1.1 series, 2 series, 3, 4, 5, up to 255 I can use any. Okay, that means here also I can say if I use class C, for me it is not compulsory like I have to use only one. Maybe I can use 2, I can use 3, I can use 4, I can use 5. Up to 255 I can use any number as a free. Okay, that means complete 254 IPs I can use as a network. That is a class C. Okay, so this is our IP address class. Okay, so today we have done all our basic classes. Okay, so hope you understand today's class. If you have any question, you can ask me.